Welcome to the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast with your host, Cody Janssen.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 6 of the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast, brought to you by CST Tires and hosted by me, Cody Janssen. We have a good show lined up for you tonight with everything you need to know heading into the Ironman finale coming up this Friday. But before anything else, I have to thank our show sponsors for all of their support, because none of this would be possible without all of them. Thank you to our title sponsor, CST Tires, CSTTires.com. I referred to the Pulse MXR tire as being like a cheat code in the last few episodes. So join the CST takeover or prepare to be beat by someone who did. CST Tires, where passion meets the ground. Thank you to SSI Decals for their presenting sponsorship of our Redbud Live show and overall support of the podcast. Make your identity stick with the baddest ass graphics in the industry. Thank you, SSI Decals. Thank you to DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 X-Ring chain. You can thank them for bringing our featured guest each week. Thanks to new sponsor Blenders Eyewear. Their Life and Forward Motion brand makes them the perfect partner for us. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 to save on the trendiest shades on the market. BlendersEyewear.com. Thank you to Fourworks Carbon for coming on board. They've been running all kinds of killer deals on hoods, seat covers, and other accessories. You can head over to their Facebook page to check out those deals and see featured products. Thank you, as always, to Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant. Upgrade to Evans now to avoid overheating and boilover next time you're on the racetrack, even when conditions are tough. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 at checkout to save. evanscoolant.com. Thanks to DP Brakes, the unquestioned leader in motorsports and power sports braking. Thanks to DP for allowing me and so many others to outbrake the competition, as well as supporting my podcast. Thanks to Oats Overnight for partnering with us. Life is hard, so make breakfast easy. Simply combine with milk before bed and enjoy your to-go breakfast in the morning. Overnight oatmeal loaded with superfoods, perfect for athletes. Use discount code DIGGINGDEEP10 to save at checkout, oatsovernight.com. And thanks to 100% and their new Armega goggle that's all the buzz right now. Unparalleled performance for the modern racer. We pride ourselves in partnering with only the best brands in the industry, so improve your ride and your lifestyle by supporting the sponsors who support us. Thanks again to all of our sponsors. We couldn't do it without you guys. The goal for this week's episode is to supply you with everything you could possibly want to know heading into this weekend's pro finale. You know by now that in our Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant Sight Lap segment, we preview what's ahead in this week's show. First, former AMA ATV Pro Rookie of the Year Tyler Hamrick rejoins the show to join me in covering all ATVMX topics of conversation, post-Loretta's, and pre-Ironman. The more educated and in tune we can be as fans, the better our experience at the final round will be. That's where our podcast comes in. Then, after hearing from our sponsors, the show will conclude with an in-depth conversation with my trainer, the program's Dominic Sumpolec. Don't forget to use that discount code DIGGINGDEEP20 to save on Evans Coolant. And with that, let's dive right in. Or should I say, let's dig deep. All right, guys, so it's my pleasure to welcome back a former co-host, a regular on the show, friend of the show, Tyler Hamrick. He's an Ohio legend. Hammy, welcome back to the show, pal. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, what's going on, buddy? I appreciate that. It was just some nice words you had for me.
Hey, I almost felt bad for not having you on the last show because I know you really like being a part of it, but like you are the fan favorite of the show. I have so many people, especially from the Ohio area, but I have so many people that are so pumped when you come on the show that figured we needed to get you back on here for sure.
That's good. I like to hear that. I'm glad people like hearing what I got to say. I didn't know what to expect or what other people would expect and think of it. So that's good. Good to hear. I
think that, people always liked you, but then you kind of you were gone, when you kind of retired from racing. So people are excited to hear from you and see what you're up to and get your insight, you know?
Yeah. I kind of fell off the face of the earth on the racing side and put no racing. So that was how I was doing it. So it's cool to be back just kind of in the mix of a racing scene or something.
Right. That's what I said to Sean at the beginning of the last one. Like, there's nothing better than racing and competing, but definitely the next best thing is to be able to talk about it. It gets that adrenaline and those kind of juices flowing. So, good.
I totally agree.
Absolutely. Good to get that, you back in the mix and get people hearing from you. And it's exciting. It's exciting for both of us. We love to talk racing. So, how about we talk some Lorettas, huh?
Yeah, let's dig deep into some ATV motocross. Let's get to it.
Yeah, man. So, yeah, it was pretty exciting, but it was almost like one of those days that was kind of just, wasn't too many battles necessarily. Like, at least there was probably more than it looks like on paper. On paper, it was 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, 5-5. It was probably a little bit more dicey than that, but, man, there was a big wave of change. Chad came in with a 1-point lead. He left, at the end of the day, 5 points down. Joel gets the red backgrounds back for the first time in a long time. And, yeah, it was really exciting. Were you able to tune into some of that racing there?
I was not. I was actually working that day, so I wasn't able to, really stay up on it too much. When I got a chance to check my phone, I was checking the results, and I seen that Joel had won and Chad got second, and I'd seen some clips and all that, and I was excited to see how the day was going to turn out. I really didn't know what was going to happen after what happened at Redbud. So it was, stinks I couldn't watch it all, but I'd have to say what happened. Doesn't surprise me, really, seeing Joel go 1-1 and, Chad going 2-2.
Yeah.
That seems about right.
Yeah, Joel had one of those days, just a typical Joel day, really.
Yep. Joel was Joel.
Yeah, I think he got the whole shot in the first moto, and he was second I think, in the second moto, right? Because Thomas led for a couple laps.
I just actually watched that Racer TV. I think Joel got the whole shot, but like the third corner before you go down that straightaway to
you're
the
right.
Ten Commandments.
Yep, you're right.
He blew a berm, and then Thomas got by him.
You're right. So yeah, but then Thomas went on to lead a couple laps, and he looked really good. And speed wise, Chad. I mean, I feel like he had the speed. I think that their lap times were pretty similar, and even in time qualifying, like they were within like 2 or 3 tenths of a second. I mean, it was very close, but yeah. Chad just did not get the starts that he needed. He was again, his speed was there, at least a challenge, no doubt, but he just didn't get the starts he needed. And, at the end of the day, we've said it before on this podcast, but when Joel gets a start or is right up at the front, I mean, he's so hard to beat.
Yeah. Especially at Loretta's. That's not the track that I think Chad wants to get a bad hole shot at, not being a real wide track. I wouldn't say it's a technical track. It got rough, but it'd be a hard track to pass on and make up time when you're trying to chase down Joel.
Yeah, but the one thing I will say about that is, I left Loretta's thinking that was probably one of the raciest tracks we've had all year. Like, really? Yeah, because we go to these big national dirt bike tracks, and they're so spread out, and there's maybe so few obstacles that Loretta's. I mean, I feel like, and you've been there when it develops this way, but in some corners there's 3 or 4 different lines. It's pretty rough, so that roughness almost makes it technical. There were sections where I was literally jumping braking bumps, from one braking bump to another, over some. I mean, so it was a pretty racy track, and that's sometimes what is really crazy to me, how Joel and Chad can be so close in speed, yet they have such different riding styles. One's kind of on the edge, one's, almost flowing. You got one who's a little guy, one who's a big guy, one's a Yamaha, one's a Honda, and then at the end of the day, they're just so close in so many ways on the racetrack. It's something that's blown my mind for years, how close they are, but how different they are.
Yeah, that's you nailed that one. It is pretty crazy how close in times they are. I was going to say, I haven't been to Loretta's in a while, so you guys are running that back section of the track too, right?
Yeah, and
I'm pretty sure I've never ran that, so I don't know what Loretta's is racing like, running that. It used to be the Pro-Am Production Pro section, they called it.
That used to be.
Raced.
Yeah, that used to be.
Yeah.
And we used to do the billboard, and now the billboard is the only pro section. So now you go like that section, right along the start. And now,
Really?
yeah, so now you go over the finish line. There's like a triple and a little step up double thing, and then you go all the way into the woods. Grab fifth gear and go into the woods.
Amateurs do that.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and the pros are the only ones that go down and make that
billboard
90
section.
or the 180?
Yep, exactly.
Okay. Well, that kind of stinks, because that's like
it's iconic.
Like everyone ran that.
It's iconic, but that Storyland section is really fun, and it's like pretty technical, and there's like some jumps back there and stuff, so a couple good passing points. So but yeah, so those two just didn't get a chance to like throw down at Loretta's. And, us fans of the sport, you got to kind of hope that is something that can happen at Crawfordsville. But before we move on to Crawfordsville, I got to mention Thomas too, because man, he's kept it going. Like, I've been on this show a handful of times saying that this has been his best season yet. And I mean, it's almost like he found something more for Loretta's, because he was a guy who sometimes struggles maybe with his starts.
He's been dialed in.
Man, he was
lately.
there. Like, he was right there in both of them. Like you said, maybe he didn't get the whole shot in the second moto, but he was right there, and then was able to capitalize when Joel made a little mistake. And man, and Thomas, I think probably in both motos stayed in second for at least half of that moto before he gave way to Chad. So, man, Thomas is right in the mix, and at Ironman, he could play spoiler.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool. I want to see some good racing. Hopefully we see Chad, Thomas, and Joel go at it. All three. I just want to see a good race. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Thomas in front of the both of them pull a whole shot and see what he can do, especially with that kind of a crowd there. You got the dirt bikes and stuff like that. I think everyone's going to want to show out and put on a show.
Well, and Thomas is one of those guys. He talks about, like, for the Quad Cross of Nations, how, he's so prideful. And I think that he's the kind of guy that at a race like this, a one-off, I know it's for points, but it's still a different kind of race with the dirt bikes. And he's the kind of guy that's going to really want to show something on behalf of the ATV motocross community, that I wouldn't be surprised if, Thomas, because again, like those other two guys, there's big time pressure. It's basically winner take all. And for Thomas, man, he's just there without any pressure, trying to show out. So I think he's a guy
third place locked up. I would have to say in the championship, probably.
Yeah.
Hopefully he goes big.
I think he could for sure. So Joel went 1-1, Chad went 2-2, Thomas went 3-3. 4-4 was Brandon Hogue, and he was making some late moto moves in both motos, I believe, and he qualified second, which was pretty
crazy.
Yeah, pretty impressive. Doesn't even give him enough credit. So he is sleepy throughout the year. He's like sleepy turned into a pretty much a top 5 guy, and as a rookie, that's pretty impressive. And now he's 12 points ahead of Alan Myers going into the last motos here for Rookie of the Year. So, I mean, he's clearly
pretty healthy gap.
He's clearly the odds-on favorite, as long as he doesn't have, some kind of mechanical issue.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think if he keeps riding the way he does, that'd be his Rookie of the Year to take home, and a good one too. A podium, multiple top 5s.
Yeah, for sure. He's had a really good year. I mean, to have a podium like
second
that.
Second
Yeah, we could.
That's a good rookie year.
We'd be happy to welcome him to the Rookie of the Year club.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. So he went 4-4. Great, very impressive day, and Janusa coming off his top 3, his first podium ever at Redbud. He got a 5-5 on the weekend, so not too bad for him either. Just couldn't get over the hump like he did at Redbud, but was still another typical, consistent, impressive Janusa type of day with a 5-5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he probably had to fight through the pack from some of the videos I seen. I think there was a GoPro. It didn't look like he got the best of start, so he had his work cut out for him to get up to the top 5. So, he's always riding hard to get where he's going.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a guy that charges till the very end. So, so that was your top 5. Like I said, they were all consistent with the finishes between motos, but more battling than what the results at the end of the day show. Another noteworthy kind of performance was Jeffrey, who, he came out just before Loretta's and announced that he knows what's going on with his body. He's been diagnosed with the Epstein-Barr virus, which is actually like a form of mono, just in a very serious form, which is normally brought on from maybe overworking. And the only way to cure or to get back healthy from having Epstein-Barr is to literally lock yourself in the house for like a few months and just literally do nothing, let your body recoup from that. Well, it's very commendable that he's continuing to fight through this. He wants to be out there for his sponsors, for his fans. And the one thing I will say, and I give him so much credit, is, I got hurt, I think in 2016 when I broke my back. I broke some bones in my back and broke my eye socket and broke my ankle.
In Texas, right?
Yeah, and I raced through that. And at the time, and I'm not saying I would have changed anything, but it really wears on you when you go out there week after week and you're not able to ride like yourself. Your mind is going faster than your body will allow you to go. And that's just, it's almost like embarrassing because you have a standard, and Jeffrey's standard is far different than what my standard was at the time. But when I was finishing, 10th, 11th, 12th, I knew I was better than that, but my body was only letting me go that fast. And I think that that's where Jeffrey's at. He's still able to qualify well. He's still able to go fast at the beginning of the motos, but by the end of the race, his body just is giving out on him. And, again, that's a feeling that, man, like I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy because, again, it's embarrassing. And, all of us on the outside give him a ton of credit, but you as a competitor, it's like this is where
it's tough,
it's you're better than that and you're not able to show it.
Yeah, I gotta give him credit because that sucks all around. I know how fast he can go and what he's capable of. So I know it's killing him not being in the top 3 and being one of them top guys. And I still consider him a top guy because he's sick on a quad. So that's cool. He's still going along and trying to get his points and finish out strong. I wouldn't see him to be a person that would quit ever. No. I know he's always going to be at every race. He's always going to show up to a moto. So that's never a question. But it definitely sucks, and I feel for him too.
Absolutely. That's like the thing is, it's a shame because this was his. We've said that it's Ben Thomas's best season. Well, this was Jeffrey's best season to until he started to feel the effects of the Epstein-Barr because he, was really strong at Daytona. He was dicing it up at the first time we went to Crawfordsville. He was kind of at his peak during that Crawfordsville to south of the border time. He was literally in the mix for, leading motos, moto wins, constant podium, and then everything started to dwindle after that, and now we finally know what's going on. So, Jeffrey Rochelli's got the Epstein-Barr virus, but nobody, he's the way he's going about it and fighting through it and continuing to show up, even though he's not at 100%, nobody will ever question his heart.
Yeah. And like you said, with that Epstein-Barr, the best thing to do is just rest. It's hard to go out to a track and then when all these other guys have been training and doing their usual to, have to compete with that when you really can't go as hard as you want to off the track or in between races. So and he's almost at an uphill battle on that. Exactly.
Before he even announced exactly what it was, but we kind of had a gut feeling that it was Epstein-Barr-like, no matter what, the actual issue was. And, before he even told me what it was, I asked him if it was mental. And I didn't mean, like, is it in your head? I meant, like, when you start the race, is it in your head like knowing, hey, maybe I shouldn't go as hard as possible because at the end of the moto, I'm going to be exhausted because my body is literally not up to snuff. And that's what I had meant by that. Well, he's week in and week out, he's putting in killer laps in time qualifying. He's going as hard as he can at the beginning of the moto. And, if he runs out of gas at the end, he runs out. Kind of similar, like, we've seen tons of dirt bike guys with Epstein-Barr, Travis Pastrana, Chad Reed. I mean, tons of guys have dropped out with Epstein-Barr before. Jeffrey is fighting through it, and it's just one of those things that he's powering through, and most people sit out when they got Epstein-Barr, and he's just continuing to show up, which again is such a commendable thing.
Yeah, for sure. I hope he can get rid of that soon. Hopefully before next season, he can have a good off season and get back to where he is 100%. Come back next year.
Absolutely. I think what's going to happen is after Crawfordsville here, after Ironman on this upcoming Friday, I mean, he's going to literally have to lock himself in the house for, a month, 2 months, 3 months, and just get back to being healthy. And if he does that, he'll be right back to where he needs to be. It's a shame that he's not going to be 100% for Crawfordsville, because the first Crawfordsville race at Ironman, he was really, really strong. And I believe he came away with the second overall behind Chad. So that's a shame, but maybe he can get out there and get a dream ride. And he's going to go out there and give it everything he has. So exciting to see what comes of that. But another huge basically storyline at Loretta's there was Bryce Ford coming off of winning Pro-Am. He won Open Pro Sport, and there was no news coming into the weekend until we get there, and all of a sudden, boom, the bomb drops. The bomb drops. There's a number 4 on his Baldwin bike, and new number, new class, and Bryce Ford was making his pro debut.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting that. I think you texted me a picture of his bike or one of the posts that Digging Deep put on Instagram, because I hadn't been on my phone, and I got that text, and I was like, no way, are you serious? And I was pumped because I wanted to see how he was going to do, because I like when new guys jump up in the class and there's been all this news and all this commotion around his name that he's fast and he's going to make some noise. So I was like, what better weekend to do it when the top two guys are going for a championship, and then you got this young kid coming in here who wants to be on the podium just as bad and show what he's got.
Yeah, and I think go ahead.
Seeing him rock that number 4 on the Baldwin bike kind of brought back memories of like Tim Farr.
Yeah,
so that was kind of cool.
I almost thought, I'm like, man, I wonder if that was kind of some of the motivation. Like, I know he's been 44th. That's Chad's number. He needed to change it. So maybe just dropping one of those 4s makes sense. But like being a Baldwin rider and seeing, like you said, that number 4 just brings you right back to Tim Farr and like that legendary number 4 on the Honda. And it's just, it's cool to see a number 4 back out there in the pro class again. So, Bryce, I can't remember a time that a rider went pro and it was like all eyes are on this kid.
Cody Gibson. Other than Cody Gibson, probably just Bryce Ford.
I was going to say going back to – that's exactly what I was going to say. You're going back to Cody Gibson or Joel Hetrick, and now you're you're almost talking 10 years ago, so it's been a while.
Yeah. Been a long time.
So
I know people weren't talking about us or Brett Music or all the other guys that moved up behind us when we moved up. We were just thrown up in there, and this kid's going up in there trying to make a name right off the rip.
Absolutely. I don't know exactly like how it went. I know that there was times in time qualifying there where he was in the top 3, he was in the top 5, he was right in the mix. He ended up 7th in time qualifying, and again, like as a rookie he's never done time qualifying before. When you or I were in Pro-Am, we time qualified. He's never done that before. Yeah. So that was very impressive. I know that, him being, being under the tutelage of Thomas Brown, they practice this whole being a pro thing. I'm sure they practice time qualifying and they practice sprint laps and they practice motos and hole shots and this, that, and the other thing. But,
till you actually go out there and do it.
Exactly. It's a totally different animal when you're out there with 17 other guys going as fast as you can, trying to turn laps, and, very impressive that he was able to pull off, that 7th place time qualifying spot. And, all year, 'cause he's been so impressive in Pro-Am, I think everybody just wanted to see where he would, finish or where he would stack up in the pro class. And, we kind of saw a glimpse of that in his very first time on the track with these pros.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't get to watch the time qualifying. I just seen the times, but how did he look out there? Did he look pretty fast?
Yeah, oh yeah, he looked fast. And I was in the tower there, in the media tower, and like everybody around me is like, where's Bryce Ford? Where's Bryce Ford? What place is he in? You know what I mean? So, like I said, I can't remember. It's like when a rookie, not a rookie phenom, but when an amateur phenom goes pro, the first name, for whatever reason, that popped into my head was Adam Cincerillo, who was a amateur legend, and then he goes pro, and everybody's got the eyes on him. The other name that instantly went to mind, and it was just one of those things. I'm sitting there watching him on the track, and I'm watching all the people talk about him, and I thought Mike Alessi, because those are the people that have been around since, way back then in 2004 when he went pro, believe the hype and all the believe the hype shirts, and that was the saying. Well, that was just what it made me think of, because you saw this kid that, man, like all eyes were on him. Even though there's the championship battle, even though there's all these great guys out there and whatever, everybody wanted to see what Bryce Ford was going to do.
Yeah, that makes for another exciting part of the race. It's unfortunate he didn't end up getting to go out and race, but hopefully at Crawfordsville we'll get to see what he's got for everybody.
I think so. So what happened is he qualified top 7, and then when the motos came around, he was nowhere to be found. So I think, they had him, it sounded like they had a mechanical in the second time qualifying, and he just didn't get a chance to go out there for the motos.
Yeah. And from what I heard from a friend, that some of the reason why they decided not to end up pushing the issue to get that stuff switched out was because of all the pressure Baldwin had with all of his other riders, with Jeffrey, Thomas, Cody Ford. Having to switch out another motor in between all that just would have been probably a little bit much for Mark. And he got his feet wet with the time qualifying and stuff. So why push it?
Absolutely.
He's got nothing to prove in the pro class yet. He's got another race to do it.
Absolutely.
So I think they kind of just pulled the reins back.
Yeah, we know that, Mark's got a lot on his plate, and I think that that's a pretty commendable move on Ford's part. On, maybe it's on Mark's behalf, but it's pretty commendable because, like you just said, Cody, Thomas, and Jeffrey, I mean, Mark's got a full slate already. And, maybe it'd be different if that would have been the very last race of the year. But Bryce it's baby steps, right? So he was on a 250 last year. He moves up at the end of the last season. This year he dominates both Pro-Am and Pro Sport on his way to both titles. And then now he got his baby steps. He's done time qualifying. He kind of knows what it's like to be out there on the track with these guys. And now we're going into Crawfordsville at Ironman. And, hopefully we're going to see him race both motos as well. So, yeah, good move on Ford's part. Like I said, it's an honorable move, and but it's definitely looking forward to seeing the number 4 out there for gate drops at Crawfordsville.
Yeah, that'll be cool to see. Is that going to be any live footage at all? Do you know?
I don't know that. I don't know that. But I would assume with all the hype that's going on, I mean, even if it's not like an organized thing,
someone's going to be taping.
Somebody's going to be live streaming it. I mean, you're going to be able to find it one way or another, and maybe even Rodney will do his live quad radio thing.
Oh, on the eScore and stuff like that you can listen to?
Yeah,
that would be nice. What time do you guys race on Friday?
So the racing, they time qualify at noon, and they race at 2:30 and 4:30. So by 5 o'clock on Friday, we'll have crowned a champion.
Okay, cool. Yeah, hopefully we get rained out that day. I want to be glued to my phone. I want to be able to watch that shit.
Yeah. So that's kind of we kind of covered everything that happened at Loretta's. So now that means that means amateur racing is done. All that's left is the pro only event coming up at Ironman, like we've been talking about. That's on Friday in conjunction with the pro motocross dirt bike weekend there. And the first race at Ironman was probably the craziest race of the year. You got to remember when we went into that race, Joel Hetrick was the points leader, Thomas was second, Chad was third. And at that race, that's been so long ago. It's hard to remember that, right? But coming into that race is the last time Joel had the red plate. Well, now we're coming into Crawfordsville again. Joel just got the red plate back, but things could change. I mean, Crawfordsville was topsy-turvy last time, and leaving that race, Joel went on to go DNF. Chad went 1-1, and Chad's down 5 points. He needs to go 1-1 to guarantee the title. He needs a perfect day to win the championship.
Yeah, that's going to be tough. That's going to be real tough.
Right, because, that's a 6-point gap. If he goes 1-1, that's 6 points. He wins the championship by 1. But at that last Crawfordsville race, he was getting hole shots. He was winning motos. And, he's going to need that perfect day again. Yeah. I'm wondering if they're going to find any more power out of that thing before this race. Not even chance it. The only thing, you got to go for broke now because it's basically winner take all. If Joel Hetrick even wins the first moto, then it makes it so he can finish, top 3 easy. He can let Chad go. Chad needs to go for broke. He needs to win the first moto, and then that second moto truly is winner take all. But that's why it's going to be so exciting to watch because, this is for all the marbles. There's only one time qualifier, which is a little different. Really? And I believe there's amateur bike practice most of that day. So the track's going to be whooped. Well, so we mentioned that in previous episodes, we mentioned that the track is going to be totally different. It's not going to be the Crawfordsville Ironman track that Joel normally dominates. It's not going to be a highway. It's not going to be blue grooved. It's not going to be what we've all seen Joel Hetrick dominate on. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it's going to be like you got to assume that there's going to be some dirt bike ruts. You got to assume that it's going to be deeper and there might be less race lines than normal because, again, you don't have hundreds of quads on the track like a normal national weekend. So it's going to be very interesting to see how it all goes down, but it's going to be a different Ironman track than we're used to. That's the only part that's not in question. Yeah, hopefully you said they got the bikes practicing. Hopefully they do some track maintenance before the pro motos for you guys and give the guys like a track that they're used to riding on. It ain't totally just bike ruts and something they haven't been racing on all year because we want to see something good. We don't want to see a one-line track that no fun. I want this to be, a big race. So and so the quads can show all the bike side of things, like what they can do with 4 wheels. I think there's no doubt that you got a lot of guys on that starting line that are really going to want to show out for ATVs. You have a lot of those guys that want, that are out for the betterment of ATVs as a whole, not just the betterment of themselves. So I do think you're going to see those guys that are maybe they're even going to try to get a little more racy, try to, race a little harder, with the exception of the top 2 guys because they're going for broke. But the rest of that class could be a little more racy because, let's face it, like people literally talk about that Steel City ATV event with the dirt bikes that was 12 years ago. They still to this day talk about that and talk it up that this could be another event that they do the same thing with. That's what our sport needs. Absolutely. It's going to be really interesting to kind of see what happens, see what the racing is like. The only thing that I think fitness may be a little bit less of a separator because I got to believe it's not going to be as rough as normal because dirt bike rough isn't ATV rough, So I think that whether they groom or not, it's not going to be rough
Mm-hmm.
like we're used to, like normal.
Yeah, yeah. I think, I don't know. I sometimes think dirt bike, me personally, I hate riding in dirt bike ruts. So
I get that, but it's
I
not
think
as
the
whooped.
opposite.
It's not as whooped. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
like breaking bumps and stuff
Yeah,
like that. Not a lot of,
exactly.
yeah,
Yep.
I could see that. I
Yep.
still like hard packed.
Oh,
I'll
so do
still go
I.
with that.
Yeah, so do I. Well, you're a hard
But,
pack legend, but
I wish.
yeah. So like I said, that last Ironman race was that was the day that the whole series kind of changed, and now we're back. We're kind of back to right where we were last time, and Joel Hetrick's going to be hoping that same thing, doesn't happen again.
Yeah, it's 2018.
Absolutely. Well, no, as 2019, earlier this season is when all that
Oh,
changed.
oh, okay. I was referring to last year at Loretta is what happened
Oh, right.
when
Yeah.
you left the chain. I just don't, I don't want to see nothing like that happen to either one of them. I want to see straight up racing between the two.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to see it decided on a mechanical.
Yeah.
But, like I said, we came down to this last race and, it's like I said, it's kind of winner take all. So, it's going to be really interesting to see. And, there's a bunch of other riders that are going to, jump into the mix. We know that Bryce Ford kind of started his pro debut at Loretta's, but he's going to make his full-on pro debut as far as racing the motos this weekend. Logan Stanfield was on earlier in our episodes here saying that he's going to go pro here at Ironman. Jacob Stevens.
Cool.
Jacob Stevens is jumping in the pro class. Brogan Geyer, Troy Hill, and Noah Mickelson.
Really?
Yeah, Noah Mickelson, all those guys. So we're going to have 6 new pros. And it's gonna be really interesting. At Loretta's, there was 18 guys.
Okay. So we have a full gate then, hopefully.
There's going to be 18 guys. That means there's 24 that are going to try to qualify. That means that there's going to be guys that are going to be racing just to make it.
I can't remember the last time that happened.
It was the last time I believe that would have happened was one of the years you and I started the season at Daytona.
I think it was Daytona in 2013 we had to qualify, I think, at Ionia Pass also.
Okay. Well, I know that there was a
super muddy
one of those years at Daytona, and now remember they only take 16 to the main at Daytona, but there was like 24 or 25 guys. There was like 7 or 8 guys that didn't make the main.
Yeah, I got the last spot. I was the only one that lined up behind someone on the gate. I lined up, I think, behind Chad.
Oh,
and
really?
I was so nervous, because I almost would go all the way down to Daytona. I'm in the last chance qualifier. I think I had to pass Preston Young on the last lap. And I just remember, man, if I go all the way down to Daytona and I got to go home, not even racing the main, my mom and dad are going to be so pissed.
Go ahead.
But luckily I got to make it to the main. Then when we go to the gates, then they say, well, there's only spots for 15 claws. And I was like, well, shit. I got to go behind someone. I've never done that before either, and I'm not a good hole shotter to begin with. So I thought I'm going to go behind Chad and just when his tires move, I'm moving. And I still don't think I came out good, but that's cool that they got to qualify. That makes it more interesting and puts more weight on the time qualifier.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that about making it at Daytona because I often thought the exact same thing. I'm like, man, I can't come all the way down here and not make it. And the last time...
it's such a far drive.
Yeah, I seem to always do really well, especially in the qualifier, so it was never an issue. But the last year I ran pro in 2017, I was running and I was making the pass for second, and me and maybe it was Sepsi or me and Brett Music, I can't remember who, but I was making the pass for second, and then I blew a berm, got stuck in a berm, and I finished outside of a qualifying spot. And I had to do the same thing. I made it through the LCQ or whatever, and and I had to start behind somebody on the start.
Really?
And I'm like, yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did that last time. Otherwise, I was really good. I was always so nervous about not making it that I think like I subconsciously got a good hole shot because of it and put it right in the main. And like those are some of my highlights of like almost my pro racing career was getting seconds and thirds in my qualifiers at Daytona. Like I was super pumped about
you got
that.
Second, didn't you?
I got second once and I got third once. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what screwed me, because I remember watching your guys' heat. I think Chad and Josh Upperman got in a tangle up, so I had to go to a freaking LCQ with Upperman and Weenan.
I remember that.
And that's why I was so bummed before that LCQ. I think I took a nap, and I'd never do that. I was so bummed. I thought, man, I might be going home. And I was just like, damn, fucking Cody got second. I'm maybe in this LCQ against all these guys, but it worked out good. Yeah.
So we made her in, but it was definitely sweating it. So I'm sure that some of those rookies this weekend are probably going to be feeling the same way.
They should be sweating it.
So we know how they feel. Those rookies, because you know what happens when a rookie goes pro. Like a lot of times you'll see, even in the dirt bike side of things, you'll see them get a good hole shot, kind of be up in the mix, and then they see what that pace is like, because they're coming in off doing well in Pro-Am, and, they got momentum, and they want to mix it up with the big boys. They could easily be a wild card, especially at the beginning of those races. And one thing that's almost always a wild card at Crawfordsville is the weather. But it looks like this Friday, this week, it might not be a wild card this weekend. It looks like there's going to be a high pressure system over the area almost all week. It looks like it should be dry, and looks like Friday should be dry and in the mid to upper 70s and sunny. So hopefully weather's not a factor, because we don't want to see that for the finale.
No, you better knock on wood now. But yeah, and especially being in front of the bikes, we want to be able to put on a show. You don't want to be in a mud race. That would just kind of stink overall.
I agree.
And so hopefully, fingers crossed, it's dry and sunny all weekend.
Hey, it looks like it should be good all week. It looks like conditions should shape up. I'm not always one to look at the forecast way in advance, but being that it's supposed to be nice pretty much all week through the weekend, you got to believe that high pressure system is going to sit there, and we should be kind of clear sailing for good racing on Friday. So like I said, it's going to be really exciting to see how it all plays out, especially with those new guys in the mix and all the championship battles at the top and all this stuff. The racing is at, like I said, they qualify at noon, they race at 2:30 and 4:30. So, by 5 o'clock, we'll have a champion to crown on Friday.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That'll be, hopefully, I don't know.
It's been one of it's, and I think you even mentioned it to me probably previously on another episode, but it's been a lot of fun to kind of put the podcast into motion and talk racing this year, because it's been some of the best racing and one of the best seasons I can remember.
Yeah, especially from the points and the red plates swapping back and forth so many times, or not so many times, but in the ways that they have switched hands.
Yep.
That's always interesting. And then you got the rookies making noise. And you said there's going to be 6 new rookies at this race?
Yeah, 6 new rookies, including Bryce Ford that was at Loretta's.
So I got to ask, who do you think is going to be the top placing rookie?
Oh, I think you'd have to say either Bryce Ford or Logan Stanfield.
Yeah.
Nobody doubts Bryce's speed. But Logan trains every day with Alan Myers. Alan Myers is right in that mix for Rookie of the Year, and I kind of foresee Logan he knows that pace, but I kind of see him finishing maybe in that same realm right around with where Alan is. I could see him finishing in the top 10 in this first race, and it would not be a surprise to me.
Yeah, my only worry with that is he's switching to a Yamaha. I don't know how much he's been training on it and riding it. Riding, racing, totally different. And then he jumped into the pro class.
So he just started riding the machine. He was finishing up his his season in Pro-Am on the hybrid, and then he was going to start messing with the Yamaha after that. But again, I think his fitness and his ability is something that isn't in doubt, and I could easily see him just kind of fitting in, looking like a regular almost. What do you think? Who would you pick?
I'm going Bryce Ford for sure.
Yeah.
I think he's a good hole shotter. I think we've seen he can qualify well. I think if he gets a top 10 qualifying spot, he gets a good spot at the gate. And I think even if he comes out in the top 10, he'll be able to work his way forward a little bit.
Well,
or a couple spots at least.
Absolutely. That's, I guess, why I was it was anticlimactic at Loretta's, because I just wanted to see, he's been so aggressive with his racing. He's looked like he's had another gear than those Pro-Am guys, and I just wanted to see him be racy with some of those pros. I wanted to see what it looks like, because we've basically seen him racing guys that haven't been his speed. I want to see what it's like to see him race other guys that are going the same pace as him.
Yeah, I want to see him how fast he goes when he gets pushed, because I don't think he was really pushed this season at all. No disrespect to any of the Pro-Am guys, but I just feel like once he got out front, he put it on cruise control, and it was almost like when Chad was winning all those championships for a while, you never seen Chad really push it until later years, and then you got to see him, and that'll be cool seeing what Bryce can do.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, so I'm really excited to see that. And it's just another kind of thing to watch when we head to Ironman here. So,
yeah, it'll be good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. So the other thing I wanted to touch on, because it's kind of one of the talks in ATV motocross right now, is Joel Hetrick, and he announced earlier, actually on the live show at Redbud, he announced that he was going to be riding that hybrid quad. What do you think about that? He kind of posted some pictures about it in the last couple of weeks here, and it's kind of a mean looking machine. What do you think we can expect from him being on a hybrid?
I think that thing's sick. I was checking that thing out, pretty cool. Even the cases that you see, like the Honda logos are red, white, and blue. It looked like it came from factory Honda. The thing looked clean. Yeah. I don't know if I like that thing on the swing arm. What is that?
I don't know.
On their swing arm.
I don't know. I thought the same thing.
Yeah, that was goofy. It looked like a tank.
See, I think that I'm assuming what that is something for regulation for that race over there. They have other rules. They have
and he's running a different exhaust too for the sound, because they'd be a little bit lower decibels, I believe.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So I think it's going to be sick. I would imagine it's going to be faster than the race bike that he's riding now, and that's just scary. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm expecting hole shots.
Yeah, you watch him ride sometimes, and him and any of those top guys, but you watch him and it's like hard to fathom you could go any faster. And, it's going to be impressive to see him on a machine like that for sure.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd put some videos out of him like test riding it before he went over there, because I don't know if I want to wait that long to see it ridden.
Yeah, I'm assuming you have to believe that he's been testing one, but obviously keeping it on the download.
He had two of them with the CRF motor in it too.
I saw that.
I seen.
I saw that. Yeah.
So.
It'd be interesting to see.
Sweet.
Yeah, those Rip It Up Films videos are going to get a lot of numbers.
oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm excited to see that. Definitely got to get some videos of that thing ripping.
Absolutely. So I feel like we pretty much covered everything that we need to know heading into Ironman. You got anything else on your plate that you can think of that we need to cover here?
I gotta say congratulations to you on your 2019 championship. That's pretty awesome. Congrats on the plus 25. And how to make that drive home from Loretta's a lot better. Yeah. So I know you've been working your ass off all year, so I bet that feels super good.
Yeah, it did. It was a pretty tough season, just because it seemed like we won or we had some kind of issue that maybe held us back. I won 4 overalls, but we won 11 of the 16 possible motos. So, I mean, we were pretty darn good. But yeah, at Redbud, I got a rock caught in my rotor and kind of went for a ride down the backside of the Monza wall. And at that point in time, I thought it was over. I was leading, and that's what I needed to do to kind of put the ball back in my court. And we had that issue, and I came off the track, and dude, I got back to the pits and I cried. I had tears in my eyes because I thought it was over. And I spend all the blood, sweat, and tears I have. Spend money I don't have to go to the races and do this and do what I love. And I thought it was over, so I knew that the only thing I could do at Redbud was win the second moto and kind of see how it played out. I dominated the second moto, and the way it played out, it actually shook out that after making as many passes as I could on Saturday, I actually ended up with third overall by winning that second moto, and that kept me alive. So basically, Loretta's was a winner-take-all race, and we went 1-1. We had the perfect day, which is exactly what we needed, and won the overall, and ended up winning the championship by 1 point. So that feels really, really good. I got to just mention that Michael Allred was there on Thursday, and he left. It must have been Friday morning. They got a call that his fiance's father had passed away. So that was a real shame. When I heard the news, I was actually sick to my stomach.
Yeah,
that's horrible. I got to shoot him a message and just tell him that we were thinking about him and wishing him and his family the best. There's things that are bigger than racing, and that was bigger than racing. So I got to mention, we had a blast. I had a blast racing him this year, and man, he won his 1A class championship. I'm glad he got that because he deserved it. He was racing me hard for the plus 25 championship. And, every time I kind of had an issue with the bike or an issue on the track, he was able to capitalize. He was real consistent. I think he was first, or he was first in all the races. We kind of had an issue. Every time I had a problem, he capitalized, and he finished second to me every other race. So, he kept me we were dicing it up for the championship.
Yeah.
And at Loretta's, whether he got second or whether he didn't show up, I had to win. And if the way that the drops worked, if I won the championship. We didn't get to duke it out at that last race, again, because, he lost a loved one there. And, I just wanted to be able to mention that, we were praying for and wishing him and his family the best, but I want to give him a lot of credit because he raced us real hard, and we got it done at Loretta's and won the championship by that 1 point there. And man, I was overcome with emotion on the podium, and it's all the stuff that I work for, and that was really special for me, but also I just wanted to give him some credit and also wish him and his family the best. And again, sometimes things happen that make racing feel small, and that was one of those times. But we won the championship. Ride home was great. Been a little bit on cloud nine ever since then. I was trying really, really hard. I can't tell you how hard. I was trying to pull together racing the pro class at Ironman this upcoming weekend. I basically exhausted my whole budget chasing this championship, and and doing what we had to do to get that championship done. It seemed by the end of the season to go to Loretta's, I was scraping pennies together to go. So I am a little heartbroken. I'm legitimately sad about not being able to pull off the Ironman thing, because I'd really like to throw my name back in the hat there. I think
we can clearly finish in the top 10
in the pro class. So we'll see how everything plays out for next year. I don't know what we're going to run. It kind of all depends on support and, stuff like that. But I really wanted to throw some blue backgrounds on my quad and go race Crawfordsville. But that's okay. Maybe we can get back there another time. And we got that national championship. That's what we really worked for. And I was putting a lot of pressure on myself to pull this whole thing together for Crawfordsville. And my parents, my dad even said to me, all this pressure you're putting on yourself is just from yourself. It's just because you want to get out there and do it for yourself. So he basically said, what was meant to happen was you win that championship at Loretta's and, kind of count your blessings and, enjoy and cherish that. So I got a little long-winded there. I appreciate you giving me that credit, and we worked really hard for it. And after coming pretty close last year and coming up a little short to Nick Mosier, it was good to win that championship this year. And it was like when your back's against the wall and you need to win Game 6 and Game 7, and that's basically
right.
kind of where we were. And it's almost like that makes it a little sweeter, The last national championship I won, I basically won every race and had wrapped it up a handful of races early, and so this one came down to the wire, and there's really no better feeling than kind of getting it done at the end,
Oh, for sure. Every pass counted that year, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So I appreciate it.
Every pass, every point.
I appreciate it.
Hey, no problem, buddy.
We made her happen, and grateful for that. So, you got anything else? We got lots to look forward to, and those next couple days coming up to Crawfordsville. All the new rookies, all the championship battles, naming a rookie of the year. I mean, there's just so many things that are going to be really exciting.
That's for sure. But I was going to ask you before we go, who do you think's bringing home the championship? At one point, Joel's winning right now. Oh wait, Joel's up by 5.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to win? I'm putting you on the spot. I'll give you my answer right now.
Okay, give me my answer. Give me your answer.
I think Joel's bringing it home.
So
I'm seeing a 1-1.
I don't think that'll happen. I don't think that'll happen because I think if he does win the first moto, then he'll have a 9-point gap, and he won't have to win. He'll let Chad go.
No way.
I
disagree.
I think that if he wins the first moto, that's how I maybe see it going. Maybe he wins the first moto, and then somebody at that trailer is going to say, "You let Chad go." No?
I see what you're thinking, but in like Joel's mind, I feel like why change up anything that you've been doing? Like do your thing on the whole shot. If you pull the whole shot, who's gonna touch you?
All I know is that when his one championship, he won the first moto, I believe, or maybe he got second, but in the second moto, he finished like third or fourth or something and let those guys duke it out at the beginning.
Right.
So
you got me on that.
I just feel like that's a smart move, but it's going to be really interesting. Again, the track could play a factor. All those other riders could play a factor. I mean, there's a lot of variables. I don't know that it's going to be. And again, there might be other motivations by guys like Thomas Brown, guys like Jeffrey Rastrelli. I mean, they're going to want to go out there and really show out when the rest of the industry is there because this is at a dirt bike national.
Yeah, I agree with that, but you still never gave me your answer.
I think that Joel Hetrick probably wins the first moto, and then in the second moto he doesn't have to, but he brings home the championship. I just think he's on such a roll right now. It's hard to go against him, and I think it's so commendable because Chad, even at the last race and on the podium, he said that, he's going to work his tail off. He's going to go home. He's not over yet. He's been hashtagging, that it's not over. You're going to see Chad's best and hardest fight. But he also even said on the podium that, racing isn't the only thing in life. He's a father now. He really, really, really showcases and cherishes his time with his son Lakin. And, it's cool because he shows pictures of him and Lakin in the shop, him and Lakin, Lakin watching him ride. And, so I think that at the end of the day, even if Chad doesn't win, I think you're seeing him winning at life, and I think you could say the same thing about Joel Hetrick. They're clearly both value their roles as fathers and as role models and stuff like that. I just think that both of them are I don't want to sound too cliche, but I think that they're both winners, But I think it's going to be a dogfight, dude.
There's only going to be one at Crawfordsville.
I don't think it's going to go as, man, my gut feeling is it's going to be I mean, it's been a year of action. It's been a year of drama and dicing it up. Why should Crawfordsville be any different?
That's what I'm saying. I hope it is.
The first Crawfordsville was the craziest race of the year, and we may see that again.
Yeah, that's what I want. I mean, shit, I'd like to see them both start 19th and 20th and have to work their way through everything.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to see.
Yeah, well, it's going to be really interesting.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. It's going to be really interesting, and I cannot wait to be here talking about it afterwards. We'll have to have you on and see what came of it.
Oh yeah, I'm down. I'm down with that.
Well, hey, I appreciate it. Yeah, I appreciate it, Hammy. I appreciate you coming on and kind of creating some dialogue about the racing here. I wanted everybody to have all the info that they could possibly need to watch Crawfordsville as an educated, viewer and get everybody hyped. So I think this was your one-stop shop for everything you needed to know about the racing. And man, it's got me excited. I don't want to wait the days that we have to wait for Crawfordsville here. I cannot wait to see it.
Yeah, me either. I won't be seeing it, but hopefully I'll be able to have my phone in my hand. And I'll get to see who wins the championship, and hopefully we see good racing, crown a champion, rookie of the year, all that good stuff, and get ready for that MX of Nations and then another season.
Yeah, well, what you should be able to do is kind of tune into our social media pages, especially Instagram. I would think that we'll litter our story with what's happening that day and try to keep the coverage good for you guys. So people like you shouldn't have to look too far other than our social media pages for everything you need to know about what's going on that Friday race day.
Damn straight. I'll be tuning into ATV Digging Deep podcast then.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on again, and we'll have you on here soon to talk about, everything that happened at Crawfordsville, and if you were right about your prediction.
I hope so. Well, yeah, I hope so. We can put some money on it if we want to.
All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks, pal.
Thank you.
Are you pumped for these guys to go racing on Friday? I know I am. Cannot wait. I'm pumped to also bring you this kind of coverage that you're not going to find anywhere else in ATV motocross. Up next, you'll hear a word from our sponsors, and then we'll go right into my conversation with Dom from the program. Excited to get this interview out there, as it's been a minute since we recorded it. And as one of, if not the most successful trainers in the sport, he has an abundance of insight and a lot to say. Enjoy. First and foremost, a huge thank you to CST Tires, CSTTires.com, for coming on as the title sponsor. The Pulse MXR tire, available in soft and standard compounds, offers the highest level of traction, most predictable cornering, and superior wear characteristics. Of the countless riders I've turned on to CST Tires, not a single one has been disappointed. Join the takeover and upgrade to CST today. Thank you, SSI Decals, for your support and presenting sponsorship of the live show. An offshoot of their parent company that was established in 1947, SSI first took shape from owner Ian Harris's passion for ATVs. After making number plates and decals for riders like Chad Wienen, the brand quickly took off. Today, you couldn't imagine ATV motocross without SSI decals. The graphics maker now supports all the top teams in ATV motocross, as well as GNCC, Work Series, Pro Motocross and Supercross, Canadian Pro Motocross, short course off-road trucks, UTVs, snowcross, and NHRA six-time world champion Clay Milligan. No project is too big or too small for SSI, making your identity sick with championship-level graphics. SSI Decals. Our featured guest is brought to you by DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 X-Ring chain. This patented X-Ring racing chain boasts a steel alloy construction for reduced weight, increased strength, and a longer overall chain life, setting the standard and making it the optimal ATV racing chain. Pick out the ATV2 chain at your local dealer or wherever DID chains are sold. Wherever you go, go DID. We are also supported by Evans Waterless Powersports Coolant. Our Sight Lap intro segment is brought to you by Evans. The best powersports coolant on the market, Evans Coolant prevents boil over so you never have to pull over or worry about your engine no matter what the condition. Designed for use in ATVs, UTVs, motorcycles, snowmobiles, and more. Use what the pros use. Choose Evans today. The Digging Deep ATVMX podcast is also sponsored by DP Brakes.
DP has been dominating the ATV world for a while now by supporting riders like Joel Hetrick, Jeffrey Rastrelli, Nick Janusa, Baldwin Motorsports, JB Racing, Root River, myself, and more in ATV motocross. In GNCC Racing, they have all of the top 15 XC1 pros using DP, including the likes of Walker Fowler, Jared McClure, Chris Borich, Bryson Neal, Cole Richardson, and more, not to mention Hunter Hart and the top 4 XC2 riders. These riders continue to appreciate the high performance and impressive durability that their DP brakes have to offer, products that ultimately help place them consistently on the top of the podium. Available at dp-brakes.com, purchase at your local dealer, or even message me for their contact info today. What are you waiting for? Join the best ATV riders in the world on DP Brakes. Forworks Carbon's innovative lightweight products include top-notch seat covers, carbon fiber and plastic hoods, tank covers, exhaust shields, shock guards, and much more. Whether you have an ATV, UTV, or snowmobile, Forworks has goodies that'll make you salivate. I trust Forworks for increased function and a sexier look. Forworks Carbon, always working hard to bring high-quality, innovative parts to the market. Check them out today. Finally, our fan question segment is brought to you by 100% and their new Armega goggle out now. Thanks to those guys for the support and supplying us with awesome 100% giveaways. Not to mention the new goggle that is setting the standard in moto. Now back to the show. All right, guys, so as promised and brought to you by DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 X-Ring chain, we're joined by my trainer and trainer of many top riders over the years, Dominic Sumpolec from the program. What's up, Dom? Thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me. I think what you're doing is amazing. Glad to be a part of it.
Oh yeah, you're somebody who I really look up to, and somebody who's got a lot of insight. Not obviously only in our sport, but across the board. So I really appreciate you coming on. And I knew you were excited about it from the very beginning. So that makes it extra cool for you to come on like this. So for people that don't know, the athletes you have trained have won so many races over the years. And when I joined the program at the end of 2016, it changed my life. The only regret, honestly, I have is that I didn't make the move sooner. I think it could have changed the course of my career. And probably, if I was more fit, if I was stronger, I think that it would have kept me from the injuries that kind of derailed some of the stuff I had going on. So that's my only regret is that I didn't join on with you sooner. And we were talking about this before we got on the record here, but I mean I was intimidated by riders because I knew that you were taking guys that were fast and you were turning them into true athletes,
Oh, absolutely.
So now, I'm one of the few that are left from back then, and just makes me so damn grateful to have you in my corner. I think about it all the time, how the program used to be. To me, it was like this mystical thing. It was like this secret potion that you could drink, and it
changed your life.
Made you into a different animal. And like I said, now to have been on the program for a handful of years, and it's surreal for me. So appreciate everything you've done for me, but appreciate you coming on and being able to talk ATV motocross with us. So for people who aren't fully aware, give us kind of the lowdown on the program training.
The program, started with a rider, Nick Moser. Everybody knew Nick Moser. It started in my first house with Nick. Nick was, I want to say, 15 years old.
Okay.
And Nick was always an amazing rider, but we turned him into a different animal. We started training like my background wrestling. We started training like a wrestler. You guys wrestle a quad for your laps. It fits very well.
Sure.
So we started training him, and Nick was, at probably 17 years old, was probably the best shape athlete in that world. We had Dustin Wimmer come over and train side by side with Nick Moser and lasted 7 minutes with a program that rider form. Literally, he lasted 7 minutes. Nick went 20. And that was your top athlete. And we always tried to get Joel. He was, going out with Carly at a young age. And Joel never did it, never wanted to do it. And Joel come over to my tracks, he would ride. We always talked. Me and Joel always talked. We always gamed together. We always did stuff together, but he never made that switch.
Okay.
And it was after Briarcliff when Nick had that injury. I want to say it was Joel's third or fourth year, 2015, we started working. January 19th of 2015, Joel was 163 pounds.
Okay.
In 10 weeks, went down to 143.
Oh, my God.
In 10 weeks. And showed up at Daytona, and Josh Kramer was the host. And Josh Kramer was the first one to say, it looked like Joel finally figured it out.
Oh, yeah.
And it was a pretty crazy ride me and that kid had. Me and that kid changed the face of the sport. Nobody thought anybody was going to be Chad. Chad's an amazing athlete. It got to the point where the first year, 2000, it was Muddy Creek. That race turned it all. When Chad passed him back the second moto and Joel passed him with 2 laps to go and checked out. That's where everybody started realizing. And then that year at High Point, Joel took the points lead. But Joel was a young athlete at that time. It was all new to him. He was winning race after race. He was getting all this spotlight. He got the points lead. But it was a mental thing that he had to go through not being outhanded. You go a year later, you have Nick Janusa, you have 15, 20 riders. You take it another year later, me and Joel are still doing what we're doing. He's still doing that. You join. You start turning. We had a lot of riders join. Nick Janusa's still on, and he joined in 2015. But we changed the face of it. And now everybody's trying to train, which they should. You should have to train for the sport that you're in. Are some people training the right way, or some people training the wrong way? That's a great thing about fitness. There's so many different opinions. I can tell you what to do, but a guy to the left, a guy to the right can tell you 3 different things what to do.
Absolutely. But with your program, it's proven. There's no second guessing it because, like you said, for all those years it was Joel, but then when I joined, after I joined, because I'm like, man, yeah, I'm going to have a leg up on all the dudes that I'm racing against, And then we show up for 2017, and, man, you had 7 guys in their class. You had 80% of the pro class or 75% of the pro class. It was everybody. So
that's where I kind of went wrong with it. You know what I mean? What I wanted to do was I wanted to be like a wash. The A-arms, everybody, I wanted to give everybody that piece. Let's make racing fun. Why watch one guy run away with it? In C class, why watch one guy run away with the B class? Why not have 4 or 5 kids battling it out? Your parents are paying a lot of money for you to go there. Nobody wants to hear you got arm pump at 2 laps. Let's go out there, put the work in, and that's exactly what we did. We won every class. Literally the program won every class. We had Nick Janusa Pro-Am won. We had Brett Music Pro-Am won. Sam Rowan, he was on the program. He did unbelievable. Hayden Mickelson in the Pro-Am did unbelievable with the program. Yep. A lot of people did unbelievable with the program. But it gets to the point where your fitness can only take you so far. It's the mental. And I believe the mental side that I bring to my riders, my athletes that train here physically, day to day with me, yourself online, that we talk all the time, that's the biggest thing. Because you can be the best shape athlete, but if you don't got it here.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, and I think that there's so much money in our sport that gets spent, that gets thrown around, that, man, I sometimes think if people had to work as hard as they do to get to the races like I do, I think that's how I justify putting in all the work behind the scenes in the gym during the week, because if I'm spending every dime I have to get to the races, I better be prepared, I better be ready. And I think that there's so many kids that go to the races nowadays and they're there because their parents love being there, or whatever. And that's just never been that's never been my background. I don't know what that feels like. So I was never afraid of the work, and I was training every day prior to being on with you, being on the program. The problem was I just wasn't doing the right things, and I was doing the same stuff every single day. And I've obviously learned since, I've joined with you, that it's different stuff every single day,
Absolutely. And every time you step on a track, it's different all over. It's different lines. It's different everything. So that's why the way we train. And, you know, going back to showing up. See, I come from a sport of wrestling. If you don't put the work in, Cody, you get your ass beat. I mean, I have a 12-year-old. I have a 12-year-old who literally, I mean, the stuff that we do in our gym, I have, you know, Jacob Stevens, Nick Janusa was here, but Jacob Stevens, Thorn Devlin, who's a factory gas dirt bike rider, amazing in the woods. He trains here full time. Zach Decker trains here full time. Dave Molander trains here full time, and Adam trained here full time, but he got hurt. But the level that is pushed in here is unbelievable. And then when you have a 12-year-old who's pushing these kids, I'm being serious. You have a 12-year-old that is doing a handstand for 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
3 sets in a row when he's doing everything else. So them kids see that, they're like, dude, I'm 20 years old. If he's a 12-year-old doing it, I'm doing it. And that's the level. Like Nick Janusa came here for the first time in a while. And the stuff he does, I mean, Nick Janusa is a shredded athlete. I mean, him and Joel actually just competed at Breezewood on a rower competition. Janusa won, which I expected. But how often do we row?
Oh, yeah.
You know, we don't row all the time.
No,
you know
we
what I mean?
don't.
But that's the thing. I can say, you know what, Cody, we're going to run stadium stairs today, and there's a line of 40 guys. I can guarantee you're going to be the guy who wins.
Yep.
Why? Because we put ourselves to the test in different levels. How often do we cycle?
Never.
Everybody cycles. Only thing I say to the people that cycle is, how hard is that arm pump when you're cycling?
Right. Yeah.
That's, you know what I mean? A wrestler, only thing we did with cycling was watch training and recovery rides just for our legs. That's it. You know what I mean? When I pick you up, I don't pick you up with just my legs. So if I just work my legs and I get my heart rate pumping and all the blood flow and that everybody says that's what you need, and I try to pick you up with just my lower body and a wrestler, guess what? Ain't going to work.
Right.
I need to pick you up with everything. Just like you ride a quad. You ride a quad with everything. That's just the way it is.
You know, and even like when I do, even when I would do difficult workouts by myself, like now that you're telling me to do this, I never questioned it. You know, I never questioned if it was too hard, if it was working the wrong things. Like knowing that somebody who is so knowledgeable is telling me to do this, I just never even questioned it. I just did it. You know what I mean? So that was a huge advantage to me. And like, to me, the accountability part of it, like I was always accountable to myself, but being accountable to you, I think for a lot of athletes is probably, or to any trainer, being accountable is a big part of it, you know, and then that structure, like, and we've worked long enough together now that you know, but like structure for me, like I want to do it the same day or every day at the same time. Like I'm not going to take any days off, you know, and I think that that's a staple to what your program is all about.
Exactly. I mean, you have everybody who talks, they train. You have everybody that says they put the work in. Our results always show themselves.
Yep.
I want to say when I trained Joel, one time, and when I want to say it was 2017, Chad passed us back and beat us.
Okay.
And that was Sunset Ridge. I believe it was Sunset Ridge 2017.
Okay.
And that after that round, that's me. That's my fault. That's not, you know, whatever happened because Joel was on a regiment. I think the work that we put in after that, I believe he went to, would it have been in Millville? Would it have been Millville?
Millville was after. Yep, you're exactly right. Yep.
I want to say Joel went 1-1.
Okay. Yeah.
That was the year where I think, you know, where Chad spun out, but I want to say Joel did 1-2 or 1-1, and we came back on a track that's 100% wiener track.
Sure. Yeah.
100% wiener track.
Absolutely.
And we did that. So that's the stuff that I take. So if you, hey, listen, I got past that motor because I got arm pump. That's me. That's 100% me. I mean, let's go to the last race at Unadilla. You have a veteran rider getting passed by a rookie because he got arm pump.
Right.
Like, and you said hold yourself accountable. Like, what did you do after that moto when that happened? Like me, I would have probably slammed my head in the door 30 times. I would have probably cried for 3 hours. I'd have been devastated, and I would have started working right away, putting in the proper work, changing up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And people just say, well, I'm going to keep putting in the work. Y'all show me next race. Well, what happened next? What happens? You know what I mean? Put the right work in. And I know a lot of riders in the progress that I worked with, the stuff that they are doing now, if they were on the program, they would be at a different level. And I'm not speaking of Joel per se. I mean, Joel is the kid's a machine on a bike. I like to say this, and I say this to everybody. When I got Joel, Joel was a piece of bronze. I turned him into a piece of gold. A piece of gold, you keep nice, you keep polishing. So Joel knows he just has to keep doing what he's doing. And he knows when he falls behind. He knows when he has to pick it up because he's a professional athlete now. We turned him into a professional athlete. And he shows himself all the time. Literally, he's the one rider that I always said that could do what James Stewart and Ricky Carmichael did in the dirt bikes. Win every moto. No, I don't care if it's a mud race or whatever. He's got that talent. He's got that speed. He truly does.
You and Joel were working together. Joel was ridiculously fast. But I remember after would have been round one. I don't know what year it was. Maybe
Anya Pass.
Aonia
round
Pass.
one, Anya Pass, when he had the front and Chad ran him down. Chad got 5th or 6th place, ran him down and blew him right into that first corner after the whole shot, the second corner. I know exactly what race you were. And Joe had the lead for a while, but that was, like you said it best. I mean, he won, what was his first win as a rookie? Was it High Point or Unadilla?
Unadilla.
Yeah. I mean, the kid was crazy. He had
Absolutely.
bad luck with that count. I mean, the kid's he is the Bryce Ford. Bryce Ford is the Joel Hedrick of this generation.
I agree.
mean, people aren't watching that kid. If that kid gets with the proper people, training like a beast, I'm telling you right now, in 2 years in the pro class, he's going to be the guy to beat. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. That kid's a machine on it. When I was down at the Fords, the first time I watched that kid ride, he went through the pounders that I just built down there. And I was standing next to Ronnie Hagerson, Nick Janusa, Jacob Stevens, and all them. And he went through the pound. I looked at all of them, and I said, you guys are all screwed when that kid gets on a 450. Nothing to say. I mean, he went through faster on a 250 than you guys do, you know? It's just – but that's the thing. Like, if Bryce is going to do the same thing, just like Joel did. I mean, kid's fast. Fast.
Yeah, and, I mean, that's a whole nother subject that I think some of it is you just have it or you don't as far as how fast you can ride something, you know? Like there's unachievable speed for a working class guy, you know? And, Bryce definitely has it. But
Prodigy. I like to say it like this. You know, Chad, when Chad got into riding, he won. He won a couple races, you know what I mean? He was a guy that was a winner, you know what I mean? And just turned himself into a champion, you know?
Exactly.
Joel, the same thing. Joel won a couple, but turned himself into a champion.
Yep.
That's the only two people that have done it in the last 8 years.
I know it.
The last 8 years. Like, what is going on? Like, what is going on here? You know what I mean? Like, the other pros need to do that because we could have a 4 or 5 way battle. Think about if Cody Gibson was still in it, Dustin Wimmer was still in it, Kramer was still in it. I mean, could you imagine what that pro class would be? It'd be like watching a 450 dirt bikes every week.
Right. It would be a bunch of guys that are in the same shoes as like where Chad's at. You know, because you're talking about guys that Chad was racing hard when Chad, before he ever even won, you know. So all those guys from back then that had true natural talent, they'd still be around. But, yeah, we can only dream.
Yeah, that's a shame, you know.
It's just it's a totally different, it's just a different era, you know. So
hopefully it turns around. Hopefully, I mean, they're saying the mini classes are really starting to turn around. I'm seeing, you know, youth riders wanting to train more and stuff like that. So that's the generation. I mean, they're seeing a growth in that. Hopefully it keeps growing and growing. I mean, I think you have riding schools all the time.
Yep.
Your turnouts are still great. You know what I mean? So the youth is definitely, we just got to keep them coming. That's the key.
Yeah, no doubt. And, you know, and you had mentioned it kind of a little bit, but you know, like you go to the dirt bike side of our kind of world, and man, they're training over there, like hardcore training at the top level at, like you said, like your son's age, like 10, 11, 12, like they're training hard in the dirt bike world already at those ages. And I mean, I just don't think that you see that really in our sport. And I hope that is one of those things that starts to change, because there are younger riders that are training, but I think that those are the riders that are clearly separating themselves from the other riders in our sport, you know?
So like I have, you know, younger kids that train here in the ATV world.
Yep.
Like you were just saying, in the dirt bike world, how them kids get popular. I mean, yeah, you have certain kids that are popular on social media, but they're fast as hell.
Yeah.
They get popular from winning.
Right.
You know what I mean? And putting in the work, you win. If you don't put the work in, you don't win.
Right. Yeah. And I just have such a hard time relating, because when I was younger, that's all I didn't care about. I mean, I cared about having nice stuff because I value having nice things, but yeah, I didn't care about the clothes I was wearing, the gear I was wearing, like it was go as fast as you can, and that's how people are going to be talking about you, you know?
Absolutely.
So like just cover a little bit of, just tell us about the program. If somebody came up to you, doesn't know anything about training, doesn't know anything about, I don't know, training for our sport, tell us about the program. How would you explain it in, you know, a paragraph?
That's a good question, Cody. The first couple questions I ask riders is now these days, their goals. If their goals are to be the champions, that's my mentality. We work very hard. We do unorthodox training.
Yep.
We do zero cycling except recovery. We train 4 days a week. I want you to eat clean. But how hard you work is the key. And you must never cheat. You must never cheat. If you can only do 2 pull-ups, I want to hear that.
Yep.
And we're going to gain from that. So the program, in my opinion, is only for select few people and people that want to work hard every day, and their goal is to be a champion. And we will turn them into a champion. That's what we do.
Yeah.
And that's how I would break it down. I don't want to go into all, you know, crazy big words and stuff like that. It's raw training. It's wrestling. It's a wrestling background training.
Yep.
That's what it is.
Yeah. And like you said, it's hard work, but I think people now, if you're just listening to this, if you just came into the sport today, you wouldn't maybe hear about the program as much as if you would have came in 4 or 5 years ago when it seemed like everybody was on the program, or everybody at least that was winning was on the program. Every single rider that it seemed like every single rider on top of the podium thanked you for training them. So yeah, it's you controlled so much of the ATV world. It's unreal. But okay, so that's about your training method. Let's take it back to talking about like you, where it all started. Tell us about your background, you as an athlete. Take us back to the beginning. You said that it's wrestling background, so tell us about that.
I've been a wrestler my whole life, Cody. I've been training at a high level since I was 14. I wasn't the best wrestler when I was young. I didn't fit in certain wrestling clubs because I wasn't the best. It switched for me my 8th grade going into 9th grade year. It clicked for me.
Okay.
And when it clicked for me, it was over. My freshman year in high school, I beat a senior out for varsity. I was a varsity wrestler all through high school. My 11th grade year going into 12th grade, the plan was going to Lehigh University. Me and Lehigh were talking. It was going to be a ride that I was going to go there. I worked very, very hard. I trained with the best. I wrestled with the best. My life was wrestling.
Sure.
3 days before wrestling season started my senior year, I beat up a bully. I got suspended.
Okay.
My principal would not let me wrestle my senior year.
Oh.
So I tried to transfer to another school. My parents did not have money. So when I tried to transfer to another school, Quakertown went after them and said they will fine them for doing that. So my parents didn't do it. So it kind of like my life took a turn. It took
Sure.
a turn where, you know, that was my life. I got my life taken away from me. You know what I mean? Without me wrestling my senior year, I couldn't get a scholarship. I had to wrestle my senior year. I was ranked 6th in the state and PIAA 3A.
Okay.
And got taken away from me. Do I regret it? I mean, I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't have my family. I wouldn't have my kids if that didn't happen.
Sure.
But I learned from it. So it was like a 2-year, 3-year spiral, man, I just changed. I changed as a person. I changed. And then it clicked for me, like, again. So I started training. I started going to, like, wrestling practice. I started going to, like, Lehigh open wrestling rooms in the summer, started wrestling again. Then we got into training again. And that's where we're at. We're here today, and I still wrestle to this day. Me and my son last night, he's smaller than me, but me and him last night were wrestling at 10:30 at night on our mat upstairs. I go to open rooms still when I wrestle with the guys. I love it. There's nothing better than the sport. I'm an aggressive guy. I'm very aggressive in my gym. I hate to lose. If I lose, I'm going to work hard. You better be ready. I'm coming after you.
Yeah.
And I try to instill that in everybody's mind. And I believe the ones that train, that have me in their face every day, it's a different world. It's a different world. It's a crazy mentality. It's a different mentality. It doesn't suit all.
No doubt. And you can't teach that competitive nature, like you either have it or you don't.
Exactly right.
So you talked about Nick Mosier. So tell me how all that started? So you get back into training. You're doing all this because you enjoy it. At what point does that?
I started riding motocross.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, I started riding motocross, and I ended up going to Evansville, and Nick Moser was the kid. He was like, like this kid's throwing around. I started talking to Scott Moser. Everybody talks to Scott Moser.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this kid, and I'm like, what the hell? I mean, this kid was skin and bones. I'm like, Dude, think about if you put the work in. So his dad got to the point where his dad's like, yo, you're going over training with Dominic. And then me and him developed an amazing, relationship, friendship, over the years. I mean, for a long time. And then it evolved. I mean, I still train to this day. I mean, we train today at 5:30 here. I'm training with the guys every day. I'm still training with them. I still love to see them succeed. I like to see them fail and admit to their failure. I love that. I love watching the growth. I love seeing a kid that comes here and can't climb up the rope, and in 2 weeks he's going up the rope.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
And I love seeing that. And if Nick Moser got out of his crashes that he crashed all the time, Nick Moser would have been a top guy.
Oh, he was
proven. I still say this. I don't know there was too many people in the program that could outwork him. I mean, that kid's pull up to failure was 57, and then 2 minutes later was 47.
Really? Oh my God.
I mean, the kid was a machine. I mean, he was a freaking machine, and it was his crashes that led him. Like, we would be at 100%, boom, he would crash, we would go back to 80. We would build him back up. We would crash, we would go back to 80. We would build him back up, we would crash. I mean, that year was him and Higgerson and Jeffrey Rashadi. That was the year that Jeffrey Rashadi went back to Pro-Am.
Yep.
And they had unbelievable battles. I mean, that was an amazing year. It was Cody Gibson came back, took the Pro-Am championship from Nick, and then the following year, Jeffrey Rashadi dropped out and took the Pro-Am championship for him. So
I remember because I was in the middle of that, because the year that Nick got second to Gibson, I got third. So I thought the same thing. I'd said that in a previous podcast, that felt that year that we were racing for second because Gibson was just on another level compared to us.
That kid was an animal.
He was crazy.
Do you remember TOP?
I do.
I
sure do. Yeah. I guess I didn't even know that top of the, what was it called? Top of the podium or something?
What was it? It was called TOP.
Yeah.
It was Chad Wienen's thing.
Yeah. I didn't know. I didn't even know. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, and I didn't know who was behind all that deal back then. Because as fast as it came, it was gone,
Exactly right.
And
it worked for Chad.
Like you had mentioned earlier, not to go down that rabbit hole, but Chad is like the most like a top athlete of another sport than I think anybody, because he's just so repetitive. He's like I had said in the podcast, and it wasn't a derogatory remark at all, but him being like a robot, he reminds me of like Ryan Dungey or somebody who's just relentless, that does the same thing all the time because it works, whether it's
exactly right.
I don't know who you want to compare him to, but somebody at the very top of some other sport.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I would definitely put Joel there. I mean, I'd definitely put Joel there.
Oh yeah.
Without a doubt. I mean, Joel was a freaking, Nick Suriano in wrestling, he calls himself a fearless warrior. That's what Joel was. I mean, Joel was a freaking fearless warrior. I mean, that kid was a machine, bro. Yeah. I mean, I remember Redbud when big drama happened with Chad's fans coming up to me, like they were screaming at Carly and myself, and the guy was getting in my face. I'm like, what the hell's going on? Joel found out about that, dude. That kid went on that track. I mean, I want to say he won by 15 seconds. I mean,
really,
he was a fearless warrior, and that's where I say Chad is. And Chad having that boy, having the son, that takes you up that next step. You want to show your boy. Like, people don't want to talk about it. Hey, Daddy, people say you were the man. Well, I never saw it. You know what I mean? You want to
Right.
show your boy. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's young
yeah.
yet, but Tad's going to keep showing his boy.
Oh, I agree. I had mentioned that to him. Like, if you do it for long enough, your son's going to remember. And he's going to remember that Dad was a bad dude, you know?
Oh, my God, yeah.
So, like you and your son doing the same sport, I mean, you're leading by example with him. Like, you're the main reason why he's a top-level athlete already at such a young age.
And the thing is with Dominic is I can't really teach Dominic wrestling now. The generation of wrestling has changed dramatically.
Okay.
It's a scramble world now, and the technique of the moves has definitely has taken a leap. So he goes to Red Hawk, the best club, I think, in the whole East Coast. But what I can do is they teach him the scrambling effect of wrestling, and I critique him when he comes home. So I'm able to critique him and watch him. But like, if I would teach him my era of wrestling now, he wouldn't do that good because literally you get the deepest shot now and the kid grabs your leg and before you know it, you're on the back. Well,
right. Sure.
How do you do that? Why do you do that? Well, I don't know. That wasn't our era.
Right. Yeah.
2010, 2008, it kind of took a turn for that. But it's, you're right though.
You've talked in length about your relationship with Joel. Just talk about like what you saw switch in him when you were working with him. Like, was it basically like he convinced himself that, okay, now my fitness isn't a question anymore?
I would say yes, but it's the mental game with it. So you have to think about it, Cody. When you look at yourself in the mirror and you're not in shape, you really don't have confidence, right or wrong. You know what I mean? Like
you're exactly right.
There's certain athletes that, don't look like athletes in their animals. Okay, there's one in few. But what happened was Joel started turning. Joel's body started turning, and he started feeling amazing on the bike. He's like, yo, dude, I'm like able to go out and I'm like, all right, just keep going, keep working. And if everybody remembers at Daytona, he rode behind Chad the whole main. He ran Chad back down and they crossed the finish line like side by side. And as soon as he got off the track, it was right then and there. I can run with that guy. I can get that guy now. And he kept working. Then he had a crash at Texas that kind of like tipped him over. So he was feeling that. And then he ran out of gas. So he kept working. And soon he did that at Muddy Creek. I mean, that view that day with me and Joel did at Rip It Up Films, that's his largest viewed. I mean, that was right after Muddy Creek. And every guy can watch that kid's expression. That's when he knew, I got you. Yeah. I got you. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. We're going to keep busting our ass. We're going to keep getting better. But Chad, I got you. But the only thing was, it was the mental side that he didn't have yet. But that's the growth of a professional athlete.
Of course, yeah.
2018, what was it? He won 2018, right? Yeah. 2017.
17, yep.
There was no beating that kid that year.
And you were still with him then?
Oh, absolutely. Been more towards the end of this season. I contacted Joe and I said, listen, I think it's best if we just part ways. He was going to have to make a determination anyway because of certain people he works with. And I didn't want to be like that. So then Joel, we still talked. We still did things. We didn't train. But last year from Texas, right after Texas, Joel trained with me from Texas to Unadilla. That kid won 7 out of 8 motos.
Oh, really?
He went to Ironman. And if everybody remembered, that was the first race we busted our ass for 3 weeks.
He dominated there.
Yeah, he absolutely dominated because the problem was Joel's training when he went to a different type of training, they weren't working the upper like we were working, like we were taxing it. And he admitted right to it. So we started doing that things and we changed up certain things. So he won 7 out of 8 motos, and then I said, listen, you got to let the cat out of the bag or we got to stop that. He couldn't let the cat out of the bag. We still talked after that. It was a mutual thing. We still talked after that.
Okay.
My shit's proven. You know what I mean?
No doubt.
I don't need people trying to mock what I do. You know what I mean? And there's going to be followers. There's going to be people trying to do what I did. But if everybody remember, there was no such thing except the TOP, but everybody was all for that when I got into the program of online training.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So that's why it's probably so hard for you to describe what the program is like because it speaks for itself. I mean, when I joined the program, you didn't have to tell me what we were going to do. I never questioned it because, like I said, there was all these guys and you were taking middle of the pack guys and bring them to the top in whatever class they were in.
Absolutely.
So that's probably why you can't really describe it. So I guess I never knew. Nobody must know that you were training Joel in the middle of last season.
No, nobody knew, and that's something that we had to keep undercover. And I was more of a coach, a mentor, and we became. I mean, me and that kid were close. I was real with the kid. I was real with him, and I'm real with every one of you guys. I'm real, and that's. And I think, like Jeffrey Restrepo, I reached out to Jeffrey. I invited him here because that kid has all the talent in the world. He's had it for years. He just does not put the proper work in. And if he did, and he made it his life and his focus, he would be up there battling with Joel and Chad every day of the week.
Right. Yeah, you see at the top level, I mean, it's this way at the top of any sport, but it's that way at the top of ours. Like, you're not going to beat the guys at the top two, without working your ass off, because if athlete-wise, if Chad or, Joel then, or, a few years ago, or Joel now, whatever, like that, if that's the benchmark, I mean, you got to eat, sleep, and breathe it. There's no doubt about it. Because Chad has made a career of outworking the rest of the guys.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, if you look at the sport right now, you mentioned Jeffrey. Is there anybody else like you're like, man, salivating? Like, if I could work with this person, if I could help them achieve their best level as an athlete, you see anybody like that?
Jeffrey's the one with the speed. See, I work with Nick. I'm very, very close with Nick. Nick just does not have the hangout. He doesn't have the hangout.
Sure.
He doesn't. I call it the killer instinct. To be a champion, you must have killer instinct. That doesn't mean I'm blowing you over a berm. That means that I'll do anything to win. And when I lose, you better be ready. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And Nick just doesn't have that. I believe that if Nick rode with faster people more, I think he would get that hangout speed. But for the raw speed, just Jeffrey.
Yeah. Okay.
Just Jeffrey. I mean, I just see Jeffrey. Thomas Brown, he's a hard worker. Yep. He just doesn't have that speed of Chad and Joel. I mean, he might in the qualifying, but mud races, he's like the king of mud races.
Yeah, he's good.
But when it comes to that raw beating Joel straight up, I mean, let's be real. The only person to beat Joel straight up or beat Chad straight up in how many years has been one another.
Right, absolutely. So, and what about anybody coming up?
Bryce Ford. Bryce Ford is that kid's, like I said it earlier. I mean, that kid, if he puts the proper training, I mean, you got to be at your fighting weight. Like I say this, if you call yourself a top professional athlete in your sport, and you can't get up on that pull-up bar and do 30 pull-ups to failure, you're not a top professional athlete. Once Bryce can do that, I'm telling you, he's going to be the guy. I think like Logan Stanfield has it. Alan Myers, I think, has it. The Dustin Wimmer, like Chad Wimmer.
He does, yeah.
And he's got that little bit on the edge like them guys.
He does, yep.
That's the way I think about it. I look at it. I think you're Logan Stanfield. Jacob Stevens, I think Jacob Stevens can be maybe find some certain speed, but he's got to battle certain mental demons, and he's going through them right now.
Okay.
He's hates to lose and doesn't think he should lose to certain riders. When I try to give him the real, saying you have to lose to them riders. You should lose to them riders.
Man, because he's like you said, he's a good rider. He's fast.
Absolutely.
He's got a lot of talent in him too. I like it. So you mentioned some of the guys. Who are y'all working with now?
We have Hunter Hart and the Pro GNCC.
Yep.
Thorne Devlin, Factory Gas. He does the Enduros and the couple of other things.
Sure. Yep.
Jacob Stevens, yourself, Molander, Dane Molander. What the hell? Zach Decker. Zach Decker trains here all the time.
Yep.
I think he's an up and comer.
He's an up and comer. That's good. Yep.
He's got to stay mental though. He's got to, and I stress that to him all the time. I mean, the kid's fast.
It's not all about the show. It's not all about the show.
Listen, I give it to that kid raw. He'll be the first one to tell you. I give it to that kid raw because I see something in him.
Hell of a rider.
You know what I mean? He's a talented rider, but is he going to be one of them that's going to let it slip away, or is he going to grab it?
Sure.
And I'm hoping he grabs it. So we have Decker, yourself. Of course, we have little Dominic.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always doing something.
Oh, he's killing it always.
He's always doing something. I was on actually chit-chatting with Justin Bogle. I like to start working with Justin Bogle.
Oh yeah, that would be awesome to get at the top tier of, of that side of what we do
we
here.
Can compete with Eldon Baker. I can compete with Eldon Baker. There's no doubt in my mind. With the right rider, the right speed, I can compete with Eldon Baker Fitness, with them guys running their fastest laps or last lap. There's no doubt in my mind. And Eli Tomac.
I agree.
But it has to be the right rider. And Bogle is the right rider. I mean, he pulls the whole shots. He's a good starter. Just he fades.
Yeah. You are the Eldon Baker of what we do here. Like I said a few years ago, when you had most of the pro class, it might have been more relevant for a person that's that's new to this, but you're the Eldon Baker of what we do here, so I don't have any doubt in my mind with that at all. So where do you see, is that where you see this going, to the dirt bike world?
I don't know. I mean, it could be. It could go anywhere. It's definitely going to. I'm going to tone it down some. That's the plan. I'm going to tone it down some. I got to really focus on Dominic and getting him going. Athletes I want to train here, yourself will always be a part of it. You're a great advocate for the program. I greatly appreciate everything you do. Say about the program. I truly do. You put a work in, you go out there, you win. But it's going to downside a little bit. I have an excavation company, a site company that's taken up a lot of my time, and we're growing. So I got to be careful in what direction I go. Like, I would love to work with Justin Bogle, but I don't want to work with 40, 50 riders again. I don't want no parts of that.
Sure.
Stuff.
Yeah. Not to go down that rabbit hole too much, but I literally told my family a few years ago, when I knew you had so many people, that it had to be a full-time job, because to try to manage all these people and send them, all their workouts, and just like a personal, the part that's so cool with you is, like, me, you manage me. That's what makes it a personal trainer. You take everything about me into effect, or into concern when we're going through this. That had to be so hard when you had so many people on your menu or whatever, on your docket. I just can't imagine having to manage all those different people,
What frustrated me the most was the ones that didn't put in the work. That frustrated me the most, and almost having to beg them to, where's your results? Why aren't you training? Like, what is going on? And if you look at the downside of that, it almost ruined it. You know what I mean? So if I would have kept it more tight knit,
yep.
We could maybe have certain people, you know what I mean? But it was tough.
Well, I don't understand that whole part of it, because if somebody is coming to you and wanting to do better, like, you owe it to yourself to work your tail off, like you're going to make them. I just don't understand somebody wanting to have anything like I wouldn't even want to have to come to you and be like, yeah, not feeling it today. You know what I mean? I just.
You'd be surprised how often that happens. You'd be surprised, and people just have, it's in the work. I mean, it's in the ATV world. I mean, it's weird. Some people want to work, some people don't. Some people put work in for 2 weeks and then don't put work in for 4, and they wonder why they went backwards. Like, it's a lifestyle. The program is a lifestyle.
Absolutely.
It's a lifestyle.
Yep. And it changed my life. So yeah. No doubt about it.
Appreciate that.
So
you put the work in, though, Cody. Your results speak for themselves.
Yeah, I enjoy it. Like, the training aspect for me, like, you keep it fun for me. Like I said, I don't question what I'm doing, because you're laying it out there for me, because you know what you're asking me to do. And I like how it's always different. I like how every single day we do something different, and you challenge me. And the challenge is, I mean, like, sometimes before a tough program, like, I almost get those same nerves, like I'm lining up at the gate, because I want to perform up to my standard, because I know that that's the standard that you're looking for, and that little bit of, like, anxious anticipation is what we feed off of as athletes and as competitors. So I feel the same way with you, and that's what kind of keeps me always coming back. Do you think you'll always kind of be in the training realm? You think until the end of time, until you don't have any more fight in you, you're going to kind of want to train?
I think I'll always be into this. I'll always be into this. As Dominic gets older, his club, I'm sure I'll start training more wrestlers.
Sure.
I'm sure that's definitely a route that we're going to go.
Which is awesome for you because that's what you love.
Oh, yeah. And I love motocross. Listen, I love to ride motocross. I mean, Dominic rides, we have a track in my house. I have tracks at every one of my houses.
Yeah, I was watching videos of him the other day.
Yeah, I mean, motocross is part of my life, just like wrestling is part of my life. So sure. I believe I always will train till I will always train till the day I die. I mean, I got, sick anxiety about that. If I miss 2 days, buddy, I'm kicking the shit out of myself.
I know. I'm like trying to I'm the same way. I like try to look at my gut.
Look in the mirror, man, doing 20 pounds in 2 days. Jesus.
Isn't that funny how that works in your head?
It's crazy. Dude.
So there was a couple of things that I wanted to ask before I let you go, just because I respect your opinion so much. So in your mind, like, what makes a top-tier athlete a top-tier athlete?
Live, breathe, sleep, whatever you want to be the best at. If you want to be the best at motocross, it must be your main focus. It must be your main focus. When you lose, it must kill you. And the ones that do that, the ones that are, if they do their motos in the morning, however they do the motos, then they train, and then at nighttime they're doing something else, and then they're studying the sport, watching videos. That is a champion. I mean, that is a top-tier athlete that lives, breathes, and his results show. Yeah. Now, listen, you have guys that do that the results don't show. A true champion, results always show, and that's their life. That's their focus. I mean, your focus has to be that. And if you're talking like physical shape-wise, like a top athlete, like I said before, you can't jump up and do 30 pull-ups.
Yeah, you have benchmarks physically, but
yeah,
I think it's that if there's a couple things that make the program what it is, and I think that's kind of what you're saying about a top-tier athlete. One, I would say, is structure. Two, I would say, is accountability, even if it's to yourself. I think you see that in all top athletes. And then you had mentioned it earlier, but talking about the specifics or having specific goals, right? Like even if you're a wrestler or an ATV motocross racer or whatever you are, like every day that you train in the gym, at the racetrack, whatever, I think that you have to have even specific goals for that day. Because otherwise, you might just find yourself at the racetrack just spinning laps, or you might find yourself in the gym just, I don't know, doing whatever you do, but not at a top level. Is that how you see it too? I mean, specific goals are an integral part to this whole thing?
Absolutely. I mean, you definitely have to have goals, but you have to have reasonable goals. Some people set goals that are out of reach.
Right.
Some rookies came in and said they were going to be on the podium all the time. They were going to run races. That's an insult to them top level guys. That's an insult.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So, like, yes, I mean, there's so many things of turning into an athlete, having your goals. I mean, I'm a big thing of writing down your goals. I believe everybody should write down their goals.
Yep.
Live your goals, cross off the ones, write new ones down. I mean,
well, it's a good feeling. Yeah, it's a good feeling to cross off goals.
Yeah. Absolutely. But a lot of people don't do that.
It's like climbing a ladder. Is what that is,
Exactly right.
And if you have goals out there that aren't achievable, you're maybe that's like you're never putting feathers in your cap, right? So
you got to have goals that are achievable. You got to have goals that are reached. Don't put goals that are out of reach. You'll never reach them. You know what I mean? Put little goals. Make little goals. Turn them into big goals.
Absolutely.
But you got to start out with the little goals first.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, anybody that wants to take the next step with their training has to get on the program. That's my advice to them. So
I appreciate that, Cody. I truly do. Listen, thank you for having me. If people want to look at us, we're on Instagram at theprogramtraining.com. I mean, that's where we are.
Yep.
People can see us. Everybody, a lot of people follow us and stuff. But if you want to take it to the next step in your champion mentality, the program's your go-to.
Well, I appreciate you for coming on. I appreciate everything that you and the program have done for our sport of ATV racing, because you single-handedly elevated the sport across the board, in my opinion. The trickle-down effect is still to this day, even if you're not training as many guys as you once were. And so like I said, I'm just so grateful for everything that you've done for me. To have you in my corner is it's a hell of a feeling for me. So thanks for everything that you do for me personally. Thanks for coming on my podcast. And man, Dom, you're always welcome back. I appreciate your and I value your opinion more than most. So thanks again. Thanks for coming on.
Appreciate that. Look forward to it.
Okay. Thanks, Dom.
Thanks, buddy.
Well, guys, that's it for episode 6, our last in-season episode. You can count on us to get the crew together to cover end-of-the-season storylines. But then I'm really excited for our off-season content, as we'll have a little more freedom to cover all kinds of different stuff. I was with Digger Doug Gus just a few nights ago. We're going to plan on doing a podcast, as he's probably the number one suggestion that I've got over the course of the last few months from listeners. I've also talked to Shane Hitt about doing an episode. I know Joel Hetrick has shown some interest in doing a full episode feature like we did with Big Chad Weenan. Sammy Rowe and I go way back, so we're hoping to get him in the studio here for an episode, and we'd have a lot of good stories to talk about there. I've been asked, a bunch of times now to maybe tell my story. So maybe we can fit that in the off season. And, we got that fan question episode planned as well. So much going on, so much more even than I mentioned there. All kinds of stuff to look forward to as we kind of cover all bases, in the off season. We wanted to cover all of the current racing that's been going on, and it's been exciting enough that it's been great to do so. But as we go into the off season, we're just going to have a little more freedom for sure. So big things are coming from us here. We're 6 episodes in, and we're just getting started. So with that, I got to thank our guest tonight, Tyler Hamrick, and the program training's Dom Sumpolec. Both of them were brought to you by DID Racing Chain and their 520 ATV2 X-Ring chain. And speaking of the best chain in the industry, across the page's social media platforms, we're going to run a poll on who will win the Pro Championship. Of the group of voters who guess correctly, we're going to randomly pick a winner and announce him or her on the next episode. They're going to win a brand new DID ATV2 chain like myself, Chad Weenan, and the rest of the top dogs in the sport run. So that's a $100 value. So when you see that poll, you're going to want to get on there and do some voting for your chance to win. Thanks to my producer, my brother Dallas, who would like to now be referred to as the executive producer, he informed me. So thanks to him for all his time that he puts into this project and for holding down the fort here in the studio. Thanks to my better half, Taylor Smith, for all her graphic design work. She's absolutely fantastic at what she does. Thanks to our sponsors, CST Tires, a.k.a. The Cheat Code, SSI Decals, DID Racing Chain, Evans Waterless Power Sports Coolant, Forworks Carbon, DP Brakes, 100% and their new Armega Goggle, Blenders Eyewear, and Oats Overnight. Remember to support the brands that support our show. Use those codes to save, and if you enjoy the show and want more from us, donate via Patreon if you're so inclined to do so. Thanks to all of you, our listeners. Your growing and continued support keeps us going throughout all the hard work that it takes to make this show happen. It continues to blow my mind how many people enjoy and voice their approval of the show. We got a lot of passionate listeners, and you guys just please keep it up, because you guys rock. You make it all happen for us. So keep interacting with the show on social media. Like I mentioned, when you see that poll, vote Chad Weenan or Joel Hetrick for your chance to win a new DID racing chain. And all that's left to do is go racing, guys. Please, if you love ATV motocross like we do, come show your support at Ironman this Friday. Show the industry what the ATV community is all about. And to ensure you don't miss anything, follow myself, Cody Janssen, and the Digging Deep ATVMX podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Subscribe to the show, tell your friends, share our posts. Just help us grow the show in any way possible. We'll have constant content of the event this upcoming Friday. And yeah, awesome show tonight. Thanks to everybody that was involved. Can't wait to see who's going to come home with this championship, what rookies will shine, what curveballs could possibly be left before the dust settles on the 2019 season here. We'll watch it play out, and then we'll come back to give you all the coverage you could possibly want one final time.
With that, guys, I'm Cody Janssen, and until next time, thanks for listening to and joining us in digging deep with the stars of ATV motocross.